Hello children and welcome to the session today. Children, in the previous session we learned about electrical charges. Today we are going to learn about when these electric charges moves, what happens. We are going to learn about chemical effects of electric current. So here we are going to understand electric current and conduction of electricity through liquids, electrolysis and electroplating. So the charges that we studied till now, they were stationary, and stationary charges were known as electrostatic charges. Today we are going to understand what happens when these charges flow. An electric current is generated when these charges flow, and this current exerts a force which is known as the electromotive force, also known as the EMF. Now it is interesting to note the direction of current. In our junior classes, we have learned that electric current flows from positive to negative. So as you can see, the direction of current is from the positive terminal to the negative terminal. Now what is important here is the flow of electrons. What are electrons charged as? They are negatively charged. So when the electrons are negatively charged, they will not move towards the negative terminal. They are going to move towards the positive terminal. So what do we understand here? That the flow of electrons is in the opposite direction in comparison to the flow of current. So while current flows from positive to negative terminal, electrons flow from negative to positive terminal. Now here also, this is a circuit diagram which is made using a simple dry cell and a simple bulb. Now in this diagram also, we can see that these two things are connected by wires. These wires allow current, allow electrons to flow through them. So what are these wires? These are known as conductors. Now if I were to take a piece of plastic instead of these wires, neither the current nor the electrons are going to flow. So what is plastic? Plastic is known as an insulator. Most of the metals in our environment are all conductors. Now children, this chapter has been beautifully explained in your book with the help of certain experiments. So here there is an experiment and observation which tells us electrolytes conduct electricity while distilled water does not. So we know that water conducts electricity, but water in its pure form does not conduct electricity. It is only water which has got salts in it that will conduct electricity. This is a simple experiment that can be conducted in your school laboratory under adult supervision. Now let's come to the second experiment, which is electrolysis. So one of the important application of electric current is electrolysis. What is electrolysis? Electrolysis is essentially the breaking down of a compound into its elements because of passage of electricity. Now how this happens? Let us watch together. When an electric current is passed through an electrolyte, chemical reactions take place. This is called the chemical effect of current. An electrolyte is a compound whose molecules ionize into positive and negative ions in a solution. Take water in a beaker and add a pinch of common salt to it. Take out 2 carbon rods from 2 discarded dry cells. Clear their metal caps with sandpaper. Wrap copper wires around the metal caps of the carbon rods and join them to a battery. Thus, these carbon rods are used as electrodes. Immerse these electrodes in the salt solution in the beaker. Keep the metal cap of the carbon rods outside the water. You will observe gas bubbles near the electrodes. You can conclude that on passing electric current, water with salt decomposed into hydrogen gas and oxygen gas. The bubbles of oxygen gas were formed on the electrode connected to the positive terminal, also called anode. The bubbles of hydrogen gas were formed on the electrode connected to the negative terminal, also called the cathode. So now we know that water broke into hydrogen and oxygen gas. Now there are some more impacts of electrolysis. Electrolysis is used in chemical industry to perform many chemical reactions. Now children, here we are going to understand the concept of electroplating. So what is electroplating? We know that when current is passed through, something is being broken down. So whatever element is broken down, it comes into the solution. Now from this solution, we can use to coat another object with this broken down element. This process is known as electroplating. Let us understand about electroplating in detail. The method of coating the metal surface of an article with a thin layer of a superior metal with the help of electric current is called electroplating. Artificial jewelry that is made of less expensive metal is electroplated with metals like gold and silver that are more expensive. Iron objects like taps, cutlery are electroplated with nickel and chromium to protect them from rusting. Take an iron spoon that needs to be electroplated. Make it the negative electrode or cathode. Take a thin sheet of pure copper and make it the positive electrode or anode. Use an acidic solution of copper sulfate solution as an electrolyte. When you pass electric current through the acidic copper sulfate solution, copper from the copper sulfate solution gets deposited on the surface of the iron spoon, forming a reddish layer on the spoon. Thus, iron spoon has been electroplated with copper. Once again, using the same principle, we come to another process which is called electro-refining. Let us read from the book and understand what is electro-refining. It says, the process where the anode is impure metal and cathode is a pure metal, it is used in the process of electro-refining. This method is essentially used for obtaining pure metals. So what is done here? For example, if we have to obtain pure metal, so we are going to make the impure metal the anode and a very tiny strip of pure metal will be made the cathode. We use copper sulfate solution. Now when the electric current is passed through this setup, the impure metal will leave the anode and begin to settle on the cathode, and the unwanted impurities will settle at the base. So children, these are some of the chemical effects of current. So what does current do? Current basically breaks down things into smaller parts, and this particular process is used in electroplating, electro-refining. So in this chapter, we have learned the flow of charges, which is called electricity or electric current, and we have also understood the different applications of chemical effect of electric current. So I hope you've understood the chapter very well and are ready to attempt the questions at the back. Thank you.